What's up, guys? We are back for another NECA Predator review, taking a look at one of the older figures that I got not too long ago. And today we have got the SCAVAGE Predator on deck. This is one of the Kenner Tribute, Kenner Homage type figures that NECA puts out. So there's a lot of nostalgia here for me because I was really big into the Kenner Predator and Aliens lines when I was a kid. So we've got him here in the standard NECA style blister card for the Predators. You can see him there in the window. We've got the Kenner style backer art on the card, and then the back of the package has got a write-up, some Kenner style artwork, as well as a little bit of a cross-sell. So let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here he is out of the packaging, our SCAVAGE Predator. Again, an older figure from the NECA line, which is in and of itself an homage to an older figure from the vintage Kenner line. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on here. There's a lot of frustrating stuff going on with this figure because this particular toy has some really odd articulation. It kind of makes up for it with its overall design because, frankly, this is just a cool looking Predator, but that's not to say he doesn't move around kind of awkwardly. So let's start with articulation as usual and see what this guy can do. So we'll start at the head, and you can swivel it, and honestly, that's pretty much it. It goes up a little bit, but not too much. There's a big hunk of plastic that sits under the head, so it kind of hinders it. So it doesn't have a great deal of motion there. The plasma caster can move up and down or rotate. Arms do go out, but they don't go out too far. Not 90, not fully parallel, but pretty close. There is a swivel there. There's a swivel at the elbow and then a single jointed hinge. There is no bicep swivel, nothing like that. There is no diaphragm cut because, again, this is an older non-ultimate style Predator. So he's got a waist twist, and there's a little bobble there, but it's not really in a point of articulation. It just can. Legs are on these really weird swivels. So they just swivel at the pelvis, basically. They swivel back and forth. There is no real forward or backward in terms of actual hinging. It's a swivel. And then there are swivels at the thighs, and then they've got single jointed knees, but frankly they're really weird. The way the knees are sculpted, they're just kind of odd. The cut seems kind of awkward, and then they rotate there as well. And then they've got rotation at the ankles, and that's really it because they've got these big kind of boot cuffs that sit over top. So even if they could, they wouldn't be able to move. So he is articulated. Let's not say he's not, but he's weirdly articulated. I don't understand why. I'm not too sure what the design choices were that made him be this way. You can still get him into some pretty interesting poses, and he's menacing enough on his own, but he is definitely lacking in terms of what he can do compared to a lot of other Predators. But like I said, where this guy kind of falls short with articulation, he definitely makes up for it in spades, as far as I'm concerned, with his overall look and design. There is some weird choices going on with how this Predator kind of differs from a lot of other Predators, and I know NECA had to go by the older Kenner designs, but he is still kind of just a weird looking Predator. But at the same time, I really like this design. It's just different. He'll definitely stand out. I have a thing for blue and green Predators, so that kind of wins me over to begin with. So we've got a lot of differences here. His armor scheme is different to begin with. It's similar enough, but it's also very different. You've got silvers and grays for his color scheme. You've got no control panel on the wrist here. You've got this big gauntlet over here with these humongous blades that stick out. A little copper painting on the top there. Tons and tons of musculature sculpted. Kind of a scaly look to him with some spotting that runs down the chest and the arms. You have got a scaly looking kind of cod piece here almost with some leather, kind of leather look to the straps on him, and a little pouch on the back. These are flimsy. It helps with his weird little pelvis joint there to move. And then you've got fully covered, well, except for the toes, fully covered feet on a Predator, which is kind of different. It's not too common. And frankly, it makes his feet look really weird. They look almost non-Predatory. And then you've got a bunch of armor pieces with more paint apps all over him. So he is very Predator-esque, but he's also very different. He just has a really unique look. That said, he does share basically his entire design with the Nightstorm Predator, because in the vintage line they were just paint swaps of each other. But this guy is definitely very unique, and he just stands out. He's definitely a little different, and I really like the design. Like I said, where they kind of lost me with some of that articulation, they really make up for it because he does just look so menacing. And frankly, a lot of that comes from the head sculpt, which, as you can see, is just fantastic. There's no other way for me to describe the head sculpt on this guy. It is amazing. I love everything about it. I love the open mandibles. The mouth is humongous on this figure. Tons and tons of detail that run up through the ridges on the head sculpt itself, there's just a lot of extra added detail in there. Tons of paint. There's a lot of different hues in there. There's reds and greens and blues. It might be kind of hard to pick up, but there's a lot of paint work in there. And then he's got really different style dreads. They almost don't look like normal Predator dreads. And of course they're red, which is very striking against the color scheme of the armor, not to mention the color scheme of the skin tone itself. So, you know, this guy just looks the part. He is terrifyingly gruesome, and I really, really like it. There's kind of a sheen to him. It makes him look kind of slippery and wet and gooey and nasty. But everything about the design from the head sculpt is really what steals it for me. That's the defining characteristic of this figure outside of the fact that, well, he's a bright green Predator. Now for accessories, we do have a couple. We have got a mask for this particular Predator, which I like, but at the same time, I don't ever want to cover this head sculpt up. So we've got this guy here, and you can see it's definitely kind of odd. It's got kind of a scarab beetle kind of thing going on with these pincers at the top, which I think are really cool. It's fully just a silver chrome color. You've always got the detail on the inside, which NECA doesn't ever have to do, but they always do it, and you've got those red eyes. What's interesting about this is that it just slips over the head, so it fits on like that, which is kind of cool. It's different, and you can still see the mandibles open and exposed, and you've got the teeth. But at the end of the day, the actual head sculpt is just so much cooler that I'm always going to leave it uncovered. And then we do have one extra weapon. We have got this monster of a staff here, done up in the same kind of silver chrome. So it's a staff. It's got a handle here. You can put his hand right here. And then it's got a human spine and skull that runs up the top. So pretty brutal. It works really well with this particular Predator. I think it matches his armor and color scheme and just gives him an extra thing to hold, which works really well. So he can be kind of dual wielding this big guy while also having the blades that come out of his right arm. So overall, while this Predator definitely does have his issues, I still really, really like it. You know, I've got to say there is a caveat with this particular figure because he is really oddly articulated. He's definitely under articulated compared to other figures, but at the end of the day, the design is really why I wanted it, and frankly NECA absolutely blew it out of the park with the sculpt, with the paint, with the accessories. Everything makes a complete package to make this menacing and frankly weird looking Predator work exceptionally well. He definitely stands out on the shelf. He is unique. It's kind of a give or take. Do you care about the articulation enough that he's not interesting to you anymore? And to me, it didn't matter enough because I can still get him into some pretty good poses. He is just not as easy to pose maybe as some other figures. So that's going to do it for this look at the NECA Toys SCAVAGE Predator. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.